My teaching mission is to help students reach their full potentials, both as active learners and moral members of society. I want my students to be curious, inspired, and engaged in their learning through real-world experiences so that they feel empowered to think critically about the world around them and the impact that they can have on it. My name is Rachel Trigati. I am a pre-service teacher from Ontario, Canada. I will be certified as a fully licensed teacher this June 2020 with teachable subjects in high school science and geography. This course seemed like the perfect way to tie my passions for environmental education and biology together with my love for teaching, but I never imagined the outcome or path that it would lead me down. At my placement school, I was assigned to 2 grade 9 geography classes to teach them about Canadian demographics and global populations. I immediately forgot my ideas about outdoor education and environmental science and began to explore through the National Geographic Educator resources ways that I could excite my students about these human geography topics instead. I began to look for ways that I could make learning about topics like immigration and cultural diversity not only fun, but relevant so that students could see the true value in respecting diversity of other cultures. I also wanted students to clearly see what is meant by Canada being a cultural mosaic. During my search, I came across the Culture and Food and Ritual Oh My resource, and this is how Diversity Day was born. Using this resource, I brainstormed ways to include a fun cultural event that students could engage in on a personal level. I designed a lesson where students research their cultural roots and create a family tree to showcase their heritage to their peers. Students were encouraged to have the tree fit their family, to respect that each student's family is dynamic and unique in its own way, but all families are important. Students were also asked to create a flag that represented their nationality or cultural roots. The best part, each student was to then choose a cultural item to share with the class for our Diversity Day event. This item could be a cultural food, song, dance, ritual, or clothing. My students became beyond excited to participate in this event, and it was so amazing to hear them eagerly planning what foods they would be bringing in. Students also exclaimed that they were thoroughly enjoying interviewing their family members for their family trees, and that their family members were enjoying it too. Because this activity was personal and exciting, students didn't even realize it was schoolwork or how much they were actually learning from the experience. Fast forward 2 weeks, and Diversity Day finally arrived. Most students brought in cultural foods, and you could smell our event as soon as you entered the school building. Students brought in a fantastic assortment of dishes. We began class with each student presenting their family tree and cultural flag, as well as stories of their ancestors' journeys of migration either across or into Canada. While a student presented, I evaluated each presentation for a communication mark, and other students who were listening to the presentation were encouraged to write down questions that they were curious about so that they could ask their peers later during a discussion time. They recorded the answers that they collected for their questions and then submitted them with a personal reflection at the end of our event. This was, in my opinion, the most exciting part of our lesson because this is where students really interacted with each other and discovered some amazing things about each other. 2 students in my class even discovered that they were distantly related cousins through their shared connections and their family trees. 2 other students realized that a cultural phrase that they had learned in their German or Polish languages had actually the same meaning in English, and students were curious about where this saying derived from. This was a fun opportunity that all students got to engage and learn from. After each individual presentation, students were to use the class computer, which was being projected on the screen in our classroom, to map the history of their ancestors' journeys. For this, we used another National Geographic resource, MapMaker Interactive. This tool allowed my students to view migration from a spatial perspective and clearly see the local, regional, or global journeys of their families. Once all students had presented, we discussed the visual result of our map and flags. This was my opportunity as the teacher to assess students' understanding of concepts like immigration, the human journey, and Canada as a cultural mosaic. Finally, it was time for students to immerse themselves in different cultures and enjoy all the food brought in by their peers. Students said, "So a cultural mosaic is like what we have on the wall. We all came from different places, but we're all still Canadian." Or, "Can our unit test just be us eating these foods again and saying what culture they're from?" This activity truly allowed my students to grasp their grade 9 geography curriculum in a unique and interesting way. Students felt that by sharing examples of the human journeys of their own families, they formed a deeper understanding and connection with their learning. This activity encouraged my students to be proud members of their cultures and form a deep respect for the value that is the cultural diversity of our country.